Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Dear respective speakers and the audiences in this parallel session, Smart Schools and Learning Environments. In this session, we have 5 different speakers, and we will be starting the parallel session by the Honorable Speaker Al Kingsley, and his topics is selecting the right edtech step by step and looking for the evidence. So I must say a few words for Professor Al Kingsley. He is the Chief Executive Officer, Net Support UK, and he has, been responsible for different pioneer roles as chairs, advisory board member, and also the Forbes Technology Council member. And he has around 20 years experience in the government sector. And today we will be enjoying the talk by Professor Al Kingsley. I would like to welcome by this short introduction, Professor Al Kingsley. The floor is with you.
Thank you very much. Lovely to be here today. And thank you for the introduction. I always describe myself as a man of two hats. So half my life has been in the edtech, educational technology space, developing solutions for schools around the world. And the other half of my time is chair of a multi-academy trust, a collection of schools in the UK, both for mainstream and alternative provision for young people that struggle in mainstream education. So much of what I share is a fusion between the experiences and challenges in our school of using educational technology and some of the ways that we can mitigate and move forward. Really short window to talk about edtech. So you'll see on the slide that hopefully you can all see there. We're going to be talking about step by step and looking for the evidence. I'd love you to reach out. You'll see my Twitter handle, alkingsley_edu. Please feel free to connect. I'd be love to carry on the conversation with you after today's event. So let's go at a rapid pace through our summary. First one, when we start talking about edtech and particularly thinking about a digital strategy, where's our journey for our school? When I do inset and speak with teachers in schools, we tend to get 2 different sets of messages. For some staff, it's about the opportunity to be innovative. It's exciting. It's an opportunity to move forwards. And at the same time, for many staff, it's exactly the opposite. It's daunting, it's scary, it's intimidating. And much of that's not a lack of will, but a lack of capacity and time. So when we want to build a digital vision for our school, we have to start by being really clear that the most important process is to stop, collaborate and listen. And what do I mean by that? In simple terms, making sure that we actually get the voices of all of the stakeholders before we make choices about the direction of digital implementation in our schools. It's not just a management decision. If I was drawing you a Venn diagram right now on your screens, at the heart would be the teachers and students with their feedback of the way that technology might help support and enforce teaching and learning and an engagement for our learners. And around the outside of that Venn diagram, we would have the key stakeholders, our senior leadership team in our schools, talking about how it might align with key priorities for development in our schools. It would have our IT team talking to us about infrastructure and maybe some of their ideas, how that might impact on the technology we've already got. We'd have our representation from our special educational needs and disabilities, considerations for data and privacy, considers for accessibility and equality to make sure that it can benefit all of our learners. We'd have feedback from our governance talking about the challenge of why we're spending money, why we're making changes, and most importantly, how we're going to measure impact. And then we'd have the finance team, not dictating the journey, but perhaps dictating the speed of the journey. And then around that, we'd have the most important circle of all, which is CPD. Recognizing that actually the most important barrier to overcome with the implementation of technology is not the technology itself. It's the confidence of staff and students to use it effectively within the classroom. So what do we normally do? Again, at a whistle-paced tour, the first thing is we need to look back before we move forwards. What do I mean? Well, in essence, if I want to talk about new technology in my schools, would it not make sense to have an assessment of the technology I've already got, an understanding of what works well and has impact, what doesn't work well, understanding what technology is in my school and how effectively it's used, what software applications as a school we're paying for that perhaps aren't current and being used on a daily basis or a termly basis within our schools. Getting a shape often means that rather than spending money, we can look to redeploy our IT and our digital infrastructure more effectively, measure impact. And if we've got positives in terms of how that technology is being used, then surely as a leader, it's much easier to make decisions about why you want more of something because you've already got that confidence that's built around it. So we always start with that reflective practice, making sure you've got the tools to identify your current IT estate, and then you can build from there. Now, within schools and multi-academy trusts or school districts, doesn't matter where in the world I am, one of the most important things is you've got to build a digital strategy. You've got to take those ideas and put them in some structure that allows you to build on your priorities. Are you going to put it on the shoulders of one person, or are you going to consider there will be different expertise across your school or collection of schools that can feed into that broader digital strategy? In my schools, we've broken it down into some key pillars. The first is innovating learning. Not surprising, really. That's one of the key foundations where educational technology, edtech, can have a positive impact. And I put a really important bit on the end, where appropriate. Next is about developing and building our digital skills for our students. Just because they fall under that umbrella of digital citizens and digital natives doesn't necessarily mean that they have the confidence to use the tools within our school effectively. And as we use more online solutions, we've got to equip them with the skills to stay safe, but also challenge the efficacy and evidence behind the information they search online. Next is about developing our teacher skills, building layer by layer, not just for 2 hours at the start of the academic year, and the time to allow them to build their digital skills. Next is our technology infrastructure, making sure the choices we make around our curriculum and pedagogical software, we've got the right foundations to make sure that they will be effective and work as expected. Then we've got effective communication. Key over the last couple of years, we've seen how solutions can actually foster far better communication and collaboration between staff in different departments or staff within different schools. And that level of support can also feed into our last and probably just as important pillar, which is well-being. Because actually we can use technology not only to support our vulnerable learners and their well-being with regular check-ins and face-to-face, but we can also use technology to be more effective in how we are supporting our teachers in their role, whether it's about speeding up the feedback loop, finding resources that allow for extra development and personalized learning on the side, whether it's tools that simply provide data in a more effective format that will support teacher decisions and implementations. Well-being needs to be much more than simply an email or a poster on the staff room door. So those are our key pillars that we build around. One of the most important things is we can have different leaders who can take ownership of those different strands and feed back into our digital strategy. It's a living document. It changes all the time, and it's not a race to who can have the most tech. Quite the opposite. We took a similar approach, introduced me as CEO of NetSport. We currently support just over 20 million students around the world. And we've taken the best that we do in classroom instruction, online safety, and IT management, and wrapped it together into one classroom in the cloud. Something that we've seen that the learning environment has changed permanently over the last 2 years, largely shaped by the fact that the workplace has changed. And we need to make sure that our learners are equipped with the skills as well as the knowledge to make the most out of the new hybrid workplace. So my presentation is about the evidence. Let's assume we've had our digital discussions. We've got a clear plan and strategy of what we want to do to develop in our schools. We need to make sure with so many choices that we pick the right products. How do we do that? Well, evidence has become a regular mantra around the role of technology. So the first is to look to technology that's been evidenced not just internally, but externally against different frameworks. And I've shared an example here that we use. Education Alliance Finland have a well-respected framework where products can be evaluated based on their learning goals, but also their pedagogical approach. Sometimes it's not about how much a product does. It's about how well and how intuitively it does it and how easily it aligns with your curriculum. So choosing the right tools is fundamental. So there's lots of different ways we can grab evidence. We want to think about the different strands. There's quite a few on the screen for you there. We can take the anecdotal evidence, get feedback from peers, blog posts, testimonials, look at promo videos and get some kind of simple anecdotal evidence about a solution that seems to work well. We can get the descriptive evidence where we can actually look at things like white papers and other standards where other schools have used the technology before and can share their experiences. We can get the correlational evidence. We can try and evaluate software, perhaps in one cohort in a year group, and compare to another cohort and see if there's any measurable difference, whether it's in speed of efficiency, acquisition of knowledge, skills, whatever the product's designed to be. And then there's the broader, particularly if we're thinking about pedagogy, causal evidence, where we want to look at things like independent research, where is this product built on core standards that will actually have a positive impact. Now, we have to keep looking through a wider lens because educational technology is much more than just curriculum software now. Whether it's keeping our students safe, whether it's sharing data across our cluster of schools, all of those tools come under the umbrella and each will have a different nuance, a different way that we might want to prioritize whether it works or doesn't for us. So how might we do it? I've put a rubric on the screen there. Don't worry, I'm going to zoom in a second to make it slightly easier for you. But really, it's a stepping stone from that we need to find a solution through to making a decision. So we can avoid spending valuable money, and I would argue just as importantly, really valuable time, wasted on solutions that are never going to be fit for purpose for our schools. And equally, building confidence when we do select a solution that it's the right kind of solution for our school. So let's zoom into the first slide. And what you'll see on the first slide is I've broken it down into two streams. At the top, we've got the curriculum focus, and at the bottom, we've got the technology focus. So from a technology perspective, we might start by saying, is this technology we're looking to implement going to work effectively with our current and future devices? And the word future is key. What we don't want to do is invest in a technology that locks our school's ecosystem into one platform without the opportunity to potentially, in year 2, year 3, year 4, deploy different platforms for different cohorts within our learning group. So looking at solutions that come under the umbrella of device agnostic is always good. Does it work with our current infrastructure? Are you going to pick a rich curriculum app and deploy it in a school where you haven't got sufficient Wi-Fi access points or external connectivity for the solution to work well? So thinking about its impact and integration with your school. Thinking about your school's privacy policy. Now more than ever, data privacy is a really, really hot topic, and you have an obligation to understand if it's a cloud-based solution, where that data is, where it's being stored, who has access to it, and how long that data is retained for. The greater the transparency, the greater reassurance for your staff and your parents about the tools that you're using. And maybe the final one, it's quite an Americanized term about rostering, but if I've got a solution that's going to be used for all of my students in a year group, how do I get their data in there? Is it something that I've got to manually update on a regular basis, or will it automatically flow through from my school or management information system? Now let's flip to the curriculum side. So the curriculum side, the first question is, does this solution, if it's pedagogically aligned, does it align with our curriculum? Has it got the right resources and content that's going to fit with what we're trying to teach in our school? Have we done any kind of questionnaire? Have we set some core baselines of what we're expecting from the solution to make sure it's fit for purpose? Have we checked? And you'll be surprised how many times the answer to this one is not what you expect. Have we checked we haven't already got a solution that's approved that does something similar? And the number of times schools do that reflective review and they find subscriptions for software that the departments have been paying year after year, and it's no longer a tool that's being used, or we're duplicating. And if we think about CPD, staff skills, what we don't want to do is have 3 schools working together in a cluster, each choosing a different product for the same curriculum subject, where we're trebling the CPD and we're removing the opportunity to share best practice and guidance across our teams. And then we've got a really important question. And perhaps when we think back to the pandemic, we were all keen to find solutions quickly, and we didn't always have the opportunity to pause and reflect. But do we have a clear understanding of the instructional purpose of the solution? Are we relying just on the brochure, or are we really clear in ourselves what our aims are? And from those aims, how we're going to measure it. So how might we do that? Well, if we've got ticks in the boxes for all those sections, we move along to the bottom. Have we had a group of educators review the proposed solution and come up with their own feedback about whether it aligns with the school's ambitions? Has the vendor come and done a presentation for you, virtual or in person, but have they actually walked you through the capabilities of the solution and how it will benefit your school? Have you done an evaluation of the solution? Seems pretty obvious, but there are plenty of schools that have tried software in a very limited way and then find across their main infrastructure, the solution doesn't scale or function in the same way. So ask for an eval, and if necessary, ask for a bigger eval or a longer eval to make sure you've got the time to be satisfied with it. Have you actually had some feedback from those staff that tried your product in an evaluation? Did they give any indications of the positive elements? Could they quote or reference any of those points? Because they will then all feed into that final part, which is quite simply, now we're confident with a yes to all those points, we can make a recommendation to move forward with the product. Now, when it comes to measuring impact, I'm conscious I'm almost out of time. We are used to in education measuring impact on student outcomes. That's the natural measure we always align to. But let's think bigger picture, knowing the pressures in our schools right now. We need to be thinking about pedagogical tools that have a positive impact. But don't we also need to be
Professor
thinking,
Kingsley,
hello?
Professor Kingsley, your time is almost done. Please try to wrap up by 30
I will.
seconds.
Thank you. So the impact message is simply to all of you is think bigger picture. Think about staff wellbeing. Think about staff retention. Think about saving time as well as just that pedagogical impact. And right on cue, because I need to finish, as they would say on a cartoon, that's all, folks. You can connect with me on the web links listed below, and I talk in much more detail about the role of educational technology in my book, My Secret EdTech Diary. Thank you so much, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
You're most welcome, Professor Kingsley. It's a really excellent presentation. Now, I would like to request the honorable audiences and also the speakers, if you have any questions, please, you may, post the question in the chat box. If you have any question, please feel free. Okay, I think we should provide them some time. So, Professor Kingsley, I have keenly observed your presentation, and it's really very much fantastic that the technology and the curriculum, both of the, things are going parallelly for the, better learning environment. So my first, concern is you have chosen, 6 pillars for a cohesive digital strategy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so these 6 pillars, it looks like some sort of skill development for the graduate, right?
I'm so sorry. I just lost that last part of your question.
These six pillars is basically some sort of skill, right?
It's not so much skills, it's really breaking down the key areas. Different schools will have different pillars, perhaps based around where their priorities are. I think it's recognizing that actually sometimes when we reflect on the role of technology, we will find in some learning environments, in some classrooms, it isn't necessary, it's not appropriate, it doesn't add value. In others, we'll find it will work with one cohort of children. Perhaps it works with more disengaged learners that will find technology will draw them in and engage them in a different way. And in others, it might be about time savings, closing the feedback loop, supporting staff in doing more effective feedback. So I make the suggestions based on work within our multi-academy trust, our collection of schools. Around the world, we see different priorities, but in truth, student skills, teacher skills, making the curriculum more innovative, looking at your infrastructure, maintaining staff well-being, they're pretty common around the world. They may have different weightings of priority, but they're all aspects. But of course, every school can add their own pillars or subtract if they feel.
Okay, fine. So would you please explain a little about the innovate learning? Because this is, pillars is a little bit different from others.
So when it comes to innovating learning, we can think of lots of different ways. We can think perhaps that actually one of the ways we can, particularly thinking of lost learning the last couple of years, the way we can innovate learning is using technology that introduces things like AI to do personalized learning, where it might stretch our more able learners within their own time, but it might also step back and rebuild the foundations for some. We might innovate learning in the way that we might incorporate augmented reality or virtual reality to provide children with experiences that on the back of that can be used to support creative writing or can be used to better understand science. We can perhaps dissect an animal, a frog, in the virtual world rather than doing it physically in the lab. Maybe for some of our children with learning acquisition or their parents for language, we can provide audio notes written as feedback rather than written notes. There's lots of different ways, again, depending on the subject and the cohort, where technology can be used to help innovate and change. We can think of the traditional SAMR model, where we're looking at substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. And in essence, we're saying, well, I could write on a book or I could write on a Google Doc. But if I think of an atlas versus a Google map, in a Google map, I can augment and add value because I can do things like measure distances. I can drill down and find historical references to something. And so each layer,
thank you so much. Thank you so much. So as we are running out of time, from the speaker's perspective, if you have any, questions, you are most welcome. We can expect 1 or 2 questions maximum.
May I ask Professor Kingsley? Am I audible, Professor Mutahari?
Yes, Professor Dr. Syed Akhtar Hussain sir, you are definitely audible.
Pleasure to hearing this wonderful, talk by Professor Kingsley. Is like, how do you look at the adaptation of technology, the change management of technology from this point of view? Like, can you add some point on the change management? For example, the technology landscape is changing much faster than the education, and how we can cope up with this race. That was my thought, actually. Yeah, thank you.
That's a really good question. I think at the very first part of my rubric, one of the things I talked about was compatibility with systems both now and in the future. And you're right, we're always following behind the front of the technology curve in education, partly through budget and partly because we don't always want to be trying unproven things. So what I always say is look at solutions that are open as their ecosystems, where your data isn't unique in its format to that particular application, but could be shared. There is a mindset for some vendors to intentionally make their products sticky. So once you buy them, it's a lot of pain to get your data out and change to something else. So if you're mindful of that and you look at systems where you know if they work, great, but if a better solution comes along in the future, you can migrate easily with an open infrastructure, then that allows you to be more reflective. You could also have within your digital strategy on that technology innovation pillar, one of your key strands each year is to go and look again to see what new innovation is out there and whether that might change or refine your digital strategy on the back of it.
Wonderful, Professor Kingsley. Just a connected thing coming in my mind, because we are always talking about business. And can we cut down business when it comes to education? I mean, what is the future? What do you think about?
Can we cut down business education? Well, I would say there's always, within the internal side, there's always significant economies of scale, because we now think a wider lens for educational technology and the technology that we use to run our schools as part of our infrastructure, whether it's our finance, our HR, our broader systems, our data. Actually, we can use joined up approaches now that will allow us to save money on the business side, which actually provides more on the teaching and learning side, the important part of the day. And maybe the cloud has been one of the big catalysts for that. But that's why it's really important that we don't have individual schools working in silos. We want to have a joined up approach so we have compatible systems. We can share experience from a support perspective, and we can share experience from a CPD perspective. That makes a big cost saving in terms of time.
Excellent.
Okay, Professor Kingsley, we are running out of time. So this is the time to switch to Professor Dr. Syed Akhtar Hussain. So I must say a few words for Professor Akhtar Hussain. He is actually the most senior most professor in the field of computer science in Bangladesh. So if I consider in private university sector, he is the most senior. So he has served many different universities. For example, East-West universities, as I know, University of Liberal Arts, Daffodil International University, and now he is acting as a dean of School of Science and Engineering in Canadian University of Bangladesh. So he has a wide range of experiences in the field of outcome-based education. Today, definitely, we want to enjoy the topic Professor Akhtar Hussain, OB management using OB tracking tools. Welcome, Professor Syed Akhtar Hussain.
Thank you so much. I must say that given the constraint of the time, will be quite tough and challenging. But what I did actually, I'm going to share my screen and try to make the presentation within the given time frame. Am I audible, loud and clear, and you can see the screen? Is it visible?
Yeah, it's completely fine. Please continue.
So actually, this is a platform which I'm actually using for different purposes.
Sir, it's possible to maximize the screen, please.
Yeah, is it visible? Clearly visible? This particular platform.
Yeah, it's visible.
So I just want to start sharing the concept. First of all, this particular OB management, when it comes, this is a portal which actually I formulated for the entire teaching and learning on OB, especially using the tracking tool. Since the time is constrained, we try to focus on. I just want to show you a little bit of its organization of the content. And I have passed an URL in the text, especially including the guest enrollment key, so that, when the time elapses, you still can access, you can take a look at this content. Their times are actually very well defined here, but I will be discussing in nutshell some of the challenges, and I will be showing you some of the features of the tools that we have created. And it will be given almost free to every university who likes to use it and explore it. This is basically making our outcome-based education management much efficient, saving our time, and ensuring the students' learning on a particular subject and a particular context. So just to show you the laydown of different items here, there are different video items, but I will be very brief on my presentation, try to save time. But I will request all audiences to get your access using the guest enrollment key. You can enjoy the entire presentation and using also the platform and the tool. So, immediate after I'm taking you to my presentation, especially what happens is this outcome-based education. Can you see my slide now? Is it visible? So practically what happens
Sir,
is—
your slides are visible but not maximized. Please press F5 to maximize the screen.
Yeah, actually, is it visible now? No, not visible. Is it?
Sir, visible but minimized. You have to maximize the slides so it's more visible to all.
Is it clearly visible or just partly visible? Is it okay if I continue like this to save time? Let me discuss some of the points here, like, is that clear? You can see, right?
Yes, that is clear. Please carry on.
Yes, so it's
Sorry for
clear.
disturbance.
Please continue.
Yeah, let me just, to save time, and also I help the entire sessions to continue. Just to share some of the outcomes I will be actually sharing here, and talking from this point. Let me just make it clear, and yeah. So what I'm going to talk about is some of this OB features, which actually we'll be discussing a little bit. And then talking from this point is that what are the practices we have, the implementation challenge. But first of all, as we know that outcome-based education, it actually involves processes, assessment and evaluation. And we basically try to understand the attainment of the expected learning. And we try to understand the subject level mastery. So what happens when we are actually designing a curriculum based on outcome-based education, we really need to have a clear understanding of the subject matter, and along with the understanding of the assessment, including the course learning outcome and the program learning outcome mapping. So what are the key questions is that generally, when it comes to OBE, we just like to ask our students what our students should be able to do when he or she finishes a course and how we can help our students to achieve that. That is particularly your teaching and learning activity. And then once we do certain activity, it's like, you are having a drama on the stage, you have a target, and that target you're trying to, having certain activity in order to achieve that. And finally, you measure whether you have achieved it. And finally, it goes into a continuous cycle of improvement. We generally say that it is continuous quality improvement, CQI cycle. But some of this, conceptualization stage, we define an outcome. First of all, this outcome, defining outcome for a particular course based on OBE needs actually subject level mastery and understanding in order to be able to be very practical so that the outcome can be really attained. And then once we define the outcome, we need to map that outcome with a particular graduate attribute or program outcome, which is still a matter of experience and learning. We define an assessment. How do we measure the outcome? We evaluate and find the course outcome attainment, which is very, very important. But as you understand, in the entire process, the complexity management is a very rigorous task for the teachers because you really have to have a lot of supportive data and you have to have a proper OB management practices in order to ensure the attainment is actually having a desired quality that we are expecting for the market. So we repeat this task, and I just take you very quickly that the curriculum component, we basically have commonly known that program educational objectives we define based on our graduates' market status after 3 to 4 years. We define program outcomes are like the graduate attributes, which is already defined. We define course learning outcome, which is quite challenging. I will be talking about some of the challenges here. And those challenges lies here that every learning outcome, what happens is an intentional and it must be assessed. As you know, the PEOs are defined within 3 to 5 years. I will take you to the curricular component. Program outcome, as you know, that knowledge, skills, and attitudes are actually covered. But practically, CO, this course outcome, must satisfy the stated program outcome because sometimes what happens, I will take you to the practical challenges. I will skip some of this common known, flow graphs as we know that how we actually go into different learning outcomes from program educational objective to program outcome to course outcome. These are actually common pictures. I will just skip, but I will talk more about challenges and then I'll show you the tool, how it helps. Now, about validating PEO, this is something we really need to address in a process that how our program objectives are determined. These are the questions we try to get the answer through our research, understanding, interaction with the stakeholders, and also within the process of the institutions, how we actually manage the OBE processes. How does the institution accomplish the objectives? How is the review and update done? And who are the stakeholders, how they're interacting with the programs. Talking from this point onward, quality objective statement is one of the target. And it should be stated that a graduate can demonstrate, in a certain level of skills in their, once they graduate, we must have to ensure that they attain all 12 program outcome, the graduate attributes. Those are actually has to be very specifically written. And I will be taking you into some of the, sample, these are actually sample PO, I will skip. You can have a look at it. Some of the quality outcome statement is something like this. I will be taking you into some of the challenges. These are actually known program outcomes, the 12 graduate attributes. I'll just, due to time, I'm just trying to, make it short. I will be talking about some of the challenges. Now, the mapping is basically one of the challenge. How do we map this program outcome to program educational objectives? In most cases, it is actually based on your experience, and experiential learning can only help. Mapping PO to missions, mapping CO to PO still based on subject matter expertise and defining this continuous quality improvement cycle for all three, like course outcome, and program educational objective. But in the practice, it is a philosophy. Of course, we understand it is not a prescription. It requires really holistic understanding. And as you understand that you have to define, execute, fine tune, and finalize OBE guideline based on your own institutional practices. There are certain models, I just keep some part of it, but you see the practical point of view, OBE in practice, defining CO, course outcome, based on subject domain experience. And you really have to fine tune with the appropriate complex engineering problem, and then your complex engineering, the knowledge profile and the complex engineering activities. It requires actually a serious understanding in order to be able to write the correct course outcome for a specific course. Then you use Bloom's taxonomy to define them, and you map POs, program outcomes based on this particular knowledge, the complex engineering problem, and then your knowledge profile and complex engineering activities. You're assigning certain weightage for the correlation, high, medium, and low. It is also based on the hours that you spend behind lessons. You have to have a very experiential learning understanding in order to be able to define this correlation correctly. Constructive alignment. So a lot of factors are associated when you are defining CO and map with PO. The second is OB implementation. It requires actually a holistic view. Dealing with complex engineering problem design is a very specific challenge in the process, because complex engineering problem design requires certain skills in terms of defining a problem which has an open-endedness, certain attributes has to be, we have to attain certain attributes of complex engineering problems when we are designing them, and we are mapping with the knowledge profile and other activities. So certain challenges that you see is basically appropriate writing of course outcome, and then your mapping and talking from the, I have written down all these steps in order to understand clearly. And there are sub challenges, like, you design the assessment, case study, problems, questions, sub challenges, subject domain expertise, experience in OBE, and teamwork. The most important is a teamwork, because it's just like defining the whole range of problems in order to ensure that you have a quality teaching and learning based on rubric, based on actually outcome-based education. You have designing rubrics. Fourth step. The fifth, you define and establish CQI cycles. And then student education on program outcome is one of the most important challenge, that students should understand clearly why they are requiring these 12 graduate attributes. And finally, you equalize this OBE knowledge on the step 7. This faculty, every faculty member carries the value of OBE through their retrospect. Retrospect is a very important process in the OBE fine tuning, and then establish initial PEO, because once you get the feedback. And number 9
So
is
Syed Akhtar Hussain.
Time is, yeah.
Yes, just by 2 minutes, it will be very much helpful.
I will take you to the next one just to show you the tool. This tool actually, the tracking tool, I'll be just trying to show you the features here. This tool we have developed and it's available online. We'll be actually opening up. This tool is fine-tuned, covering the FYDP. You can see attainment of semester, attainment of courses. The teachers can manage their OBE management very easily. Detailed course report, you can have it. You can actually have also final year design project management in the same platform. You have different reports, the data security and the feedback, and there are different forms of users. I'm just going to be very brief. You can register your own institution, manage your courses. The entire process is defined, different activities. I'm a passionate developer. So it is my passion to create a platform for all our teachers and especially universities so that they can use it. Different admin activities, you can manage course, you can manage feedback, you can define your CQI cycle. And this CQI cycle is quite comprehensive. Student can also get at any point in time to know exactly that what is their attainment of program outcome, PO attainment, and CO attainment can be measured. The entire data analytics, it is running in the cloud. We also have a, especially, you know, in OB, we have to have a course report. And this course file management module is also integrated through Google Cloud. And we basically have all options to ensure that quality OB management in one single platform can be done very nicely. I'll be just finishing my time. I'll just try to skim through some of the screens. Student can search using their ID and to see their attainment of POs. And if you take your cursor on any of these POs, it will be also showing different courses, the way you have actually received this. This FYDP implementation, we have done it completely, and we are about to launch and use it. But before launching, I'm very happy that I could share in this platform, this tool. And this is something, you know, we are actually still working, but it is almost in a final stage. The user manuals and every activities are done. And this is my team. I'm very happy to present. They are all teachers now. And I'm very happy. Thank you for giving me the floor to share this. Though it was a very short sharing. Thank you so much, Professor Mutaharul. It is a great pleasure. I go back to you now. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Syed Akhtar Hussain. So it's a fantastic presentation with some implementation details. And I had a question even to Professor Kingsley as well as you. You know, OB without automation is a major challenge, especially in the developing countries, where we are very much, I mean, in a rush for in a trimester system for checking the script, conducting the exam, moderating the questions. And OB, sometimes it is, I mean, many faculty members, they think it is some sort of obstacle behind the, I mean, research activities. Okay, so you know, educational institution, it's very difficult for them to afford a quality software because it is very expensive. And sometimes it is, I mean, it incurs cost per student basis. So the software you have developed, is it the commercial one or is for the open source?
Just to share with you, the team that actually developed under my guidance, the entire tool actually we created to support our universities almost at subscription price. Like it's a very low cost. It is running in the Amazon cloud. And I'm very happy to say that we really want, from our passion, from our love for education, this tool actually we developed, and basically to help our teachers managing these outcome-based education repositories very healthily. So the entire idea is that developed open source, not proprietary, it is in the cloud, it is a shared, it is data privacy is ensured, you can have your data export, import, every facilities. But at a very low cost. It's just a subscription. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you once again. So if the honorable speakers, if you have some questions, so we must finish it by 2 minutes. So the floor is with you.
I will just add, I think it's a really interesting solution. One of the biggest messages I say to schools is that data doesn't become information without context. And one of the most important things about a good OBE system is it puts the key data that allows you to make decisions front and center. And often that's what's lacking. So where there's experience and skill gap, a good OBE that constantly adapts can have a really positive impact in organizational efficiency. So good presentation to listen to. Thank you for sharing.
It was a great pleasure hearing your voice.
Okay, thank you once again. If we, I mean, get some time, we will be again, I mean, sharing our views later on. Now, I would like to welcome Professor Dr. Rehana Anjum. She is basically the professor and head of the department in Farah Engineering College, India. She has 20 years teaching experience, and she has obtained double masters and a PhD. So she has published around more than 100 of research paper in the referred journal and conferences. So with this short bio, I would like to request Professor Rehana Anjum to present your topic. Please you unmute your screen. Professor Rehana Anjum, you are not audible. Honorable Speaker, can you hear her? Unfortunately, I cannot hear you, Professor Anjum. Any speaker, can you hear Professor Anjum? Okay. Yeah, I am also like Akib Said. I cannot hear you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, please see the. Ma'am, you can see the at the left bottom option on the mic. Please click on it. Then you can. Still, you are not audible, ma'am. If she is facing some problem, then the another speaker can present the presentation, sir.
Okay, I
I
think
hope
it is
the ma'am
better.
will present after it.
Okay. So, Professor Rehana Anjum, you please take some more time. So we are now switching to. Hello.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, you are audible now. Please carry on quickly.
I'm so sorry.
Ma'am, is it possible to open the video?
Yeah. One sec. My screen is visible now.
Yeah, it's fine. But would you please run the slide?
Yeah.
Okay, please continue.
Is it visible now?
It's visible, but the slide screen is, smaller. So if you would please go to the presentation mode, it will be fine.
Okay, one sec.
You see the bottom right corner, there is
Yeah. Now I think it's better now.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I'm so
Excellent.
sorry for
Thank
the technical issue, because when I talked before, it was audible, and afterwards, I'm so sorry. Now, the given topic for me is nothing but the smart schools and learning environment for science majors in India. Here, in this, I will try to continue with the school system in India, importance of science education, branches of science, smart school, features and history of a smart school, major universities and institution of India, some researches, challenges, summary, and references. Now, the first thing which I would like to tell you means the Indian education system. Historically, Indian education in Indian subcontinent began with the teaching of Indian religion, Indian mathematics, Indian logic at early Hindu and Buddhist era at Nalanda and Takshashila. The Gurukul was India's first system of education, which aimed at all-round development. The subject taught were religion, holy scriptures, medicine, philosophy, warfare, craft, and astrology. National Education Policy, NEP 2020, has been replaced 10+2 to 5+3+3+4 system. The division of stages has been lined with the cognition development of a child. Kothari Commission, NEP, National Education Policy 1968, 1986, and 1990. The school system in India was based on 10+2 system, which is subdivided into lower primary, the middle school, secondary school, and higher secondary school. Secondary school certificate, that is SSC, rewarded once completing the class 10, and SHC certificate has been rewarded when the student or the child has completed the +12. At this level of education, student can choose or pursue either the arts, commerce, science, medical, and non-medical streams. Science has been a central subject of study in India from the ancient time. In the Vedic period, the sky, the earth, the mind, believed to be connected with the emphasis is given to understand the nature of consciousness. Now, the aim and the importance of science education, scientific literacy among the learner develops to prepare them for informed and participative citizens who are able to make the judgment and the decision regarding the applications of scientific knowledge. Student can learn honesty, collaboration, discipline, responsibility, open-mindedness, observation, prediction, experimentation, classification, communication, questioning, then formulating the models, designing the experiment, and interpreting. Then the next comes to, if you see the branches of science, the n number of branches you can see, starting with the chemistry, earth science, electronics, material science, physics, agriculture, biology, immunology, medical science, medicine, and so on. I have given here the two examples. As we know that the engineering can be divided, the basic, you can say that the engineering, we can divide the branches as mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, civil engineering, electronic engineering, and computer science engineering. But if you can see, the number of engineerings are nowadays, it's there. There is environmental engineering, transport engineering, communication engineering, and so on. Likewise, in medicine stream also, we have the n number of options, means biochemistry, dental science, embryology, genetics, immunology, and so on. Means it's a very vast subject, you can say. When it comes to preference of students, they have their own preferences. Some hate physics and some adore it. Some are scared of biology, some excel in it. Some get confused in chemistry while they top in physics. Depending upon their interest and inclination, they prefer to choose the subjects. Now moving on to what exactly the smart school. The smart school is a kind of a school where advanced equipment and the technology are used to take the educational process forward. The main idea is to provide the students with a learning experience. These days, students want a learning experience that is a lot more, you can say that the interactive, and it should also be, you can say that, have the provision to just explore by himself. Some of the amazing features for benefits of smart school, they are, that is easy access to information, notes on a digital medium, better understanding through the digital tools, great options for student absentees, learning a dynamic manner, then the time saving, and the last but not least, it is the increase the productivity. Now moving on to the history of a smart school. The first and foremost, New York in 1990 recognized the technology in the classroom has been a concern of the school intelligence program, emphasized the role of technology integration in a classroom. Malaysia in 1997 launched its first smart education project, which is include plan to build a smart school. Singapore in 2006 has implemented in education for achieving the national goals. Korea has a smart education project whose mission is to reform the education system and improve the educational infrastructure. Australia in 2012, though the partnership with IBM, an intelligent education system is designed to enable the multi-dimensional relationship for learner and school. And now in India, it is in 2019, the government of India launched an initiative for NGOs to have a deeper impact on the education system. Now, next one, in India, I have just given a few name of the universities, the worldwide recognized universities, where we can get the different types of education of science, starting with the biology to the aeronautical engineering. From them, some of them are National Institute of Biomedical Genomics, NIBMG, Indian Institute of Technology, then All Indian Institute of Medical Science, Indian Council of Medical Research, Indian Council of Agricultural Research, National Innovation Foundation, National Research Development Corporation, NRDC, and so on. Now, here, not only in the institute or the universities, but then smart schools also, we are having the different gadgets and the methods used in the science learning in that. I can say that this can be nothing but from the last decade, the use of high-tech equipment in the education institute has been increased with a rapid rate. Now, there are lots of modern gadgets which can be used. They are interactive display boards, tablet, touch screen, electronic pen, slideshows, PowerPoint presentation, e-learning gadgets. Teacher demonstrate the subjects by using the LCD projectors, interactive whiteboards in the classroom. Student can draw or manipulate the images, providing a very interactive and interesting platform. Visual clues, the different social media platform can be used wisely to teach the science. The student can make the Twitter, Feedly, and Printset, and so on. Now, this is nothing but the just background of this one. And after that, I have just gone through the many researches, means how here we are implementing in India, how the smart schools, they are just doing their job. Now here, the first Indian science report in 2005 reported that the implementation of technology in the classroom has enhanced the motivation of the student, understand, accomplish the task. An article by Sharma in 2017 states that technological application in education engages the students to involve in the high order thinking, develop the communication and discussion, and enhances the digital competency. The study at Jammu region reported the use of modified form of technological rich outcome focused learning environment, where you can say that the PROFLEI for assessing the students' perceptions for their learning environment in technological support. IoT, Internet of Things, a vision, the direction of the future generation. By using the IoT technology, the practical teaching can be more energetic with more enthusiasm. Technology-driven approach and initiatives like digital universities in line with NEP 2020 will be key to enhance access to quality of education. Here, I have taken few examples from the report from the newspaper. The Hindu is the name of the newspaper. Then the Times of India also. The Hindu report on the smart classroom. Who says toys have no place in the classroom? Today's students could confined from the educational electronics, according to one science teacher, Vamshi Krishna, at the Kendra Vidyalaya Sangatan KVS in Sulur, says technologies to promote the project-based learning can enhance the students' ability to apply the classroom concept to the real. Report of Ludhiana. Ludhiana is a place in India. In Times of India said, it is a matter of pride introducing a children to a smart school, a sophisticated technological program, which enhances the teaching learning process. In Dayandeep Vidyalaya, Pune, Yash Memorial School, Chennai have set up the Digital Learning Center, that is DLC. Then moving on to, because of the time constraint, I'm just skipping the few more things are there. Challenges in implementing the technology in the school, and you can say that we are having few challenges. That the attitude of a teacher towards the technology and the technological gadgets, and the main factor is the implementation of the information technology in the education system. The other barrier are lack of resources, limited or no access to low expertise, you can say that limited support, and the lack of time, and the major problem is internet issue. Technology is growing in an exponentially faster phase, which means the gadgets of today may become very useful, or you can say the less useful or not at all in 3 to 5 months. Upgrading those needs money, time, and expertise. Many believes that the technology in the education sector would make the students more attached to the machines or less socially able. Then the last but not least, that is the summary. The main motive of education should be to build the overall character building and all-round development of the student. The education using the modern technology like augmented reality, virtual reality, artificial intelligence has made the learning more collaborative and engagement and more interactive. Smart school and the use of modern gadgets like substantial changes in education, students will love to explore the world of science. It boosts the confidence of the students and encourages them to think beyond their imagination. Science teacher can also try group discussion, case studies, seminar, outdoor teaching, creativity, illustration, and interactive lecture demonstration to help the students experience the beauty of science. A good learning technological medium can be something that is easily accessible in any place. It should be easy to use by an average person with limited knowledge of computer. Not only this, the government of India has just given a number of programs where the students, the faculties, the researcher can use of that one, and they can just excel in the field of education, field of science and technology. I can say that here the programs are SEAT, SEATS, that is a scheme for early train of talent, which is given for the students who are in the age limit by 10 to 15 years for a duration of 5 years of study of science. SHE, there is SHE, Scholarship for Higher Education, offers 10,000 scholarship every year to talented youth in the age that is 17 to 20 years for undertaking bachelor and master's level education in natural
Professor
or
Rehana
the
Anjum,
basic
we are running
sciences.
out of time. It will be very nice if you finish within 30 seconds more.
No, not an issue. I was okay. The last one is not this one only, the schemes. Along with that, we are celebrating n number of, sometimes the N Science Days or the Jawaharlal Nehru National Science Exhibition, National Science Day, and so on, so that we can inculcate among the students the importance of science and technology in their life. With this, I conclude my presentation. I think, hope you get it. Thank you. Thank you for giving that opportunity.
You are most welcome, Professor Rehana Anjum, for your nice presentation on Smart School. Dear, speakers, do you have any question to Professor Anjum? Okay, fine. So if you don't have any question, so I may ask one issue. For example, what are the major challenges of smart schools in
As
India?
okay, as you know that we are still growing countries, I have mentioned the few things also. The first and foremost is infrastructure. Second one, if you'll go for that one, we are having the internet problem. And there's this third one, we can go for the electricity problem. And sometimes because we are not having that much skills person, so the content development and other things and the managing the things is somewhat very difficult.
So you mean the smart school in that case is not feasible for developing countries?
That exactly means I can say in that way means not because as you know that in India we are having means in cities there is no problem, or in rural areas we are facing the problems. In urban areas we can cope up with all that things.
Okay, thank you once again, Professor Rehana Anjum. Now we must switch to Engineer Abdul Rahman. So would you please, Engineer Abdul Rahman, can you hear me? So I must say, Engineer Abdul Rahman, can you hear me? I am looking for Engineer Abdul Rahman. Can you hear me? Perhaps he has the connectivity issues. Engineer Abdul Rahman, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can
Okay,
everybody see
fine.
and hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Let me.
Just a few minutes. Just a few minutes. Let me introduce you first.
Thank you.
So Engineer Abdul Rahman and first National University of Computer and Emerging Sciences, Islamabad, Pakistan. So he has a, bright career of 20 years of experience in software development in the software industry. Later on, he has switched towards the academia, and he has 11 years of experience in academia in the field of software engineering. So I would like to invite Engineer Abdul Rahman to present his topic, effective utilization of technology for smart learning environments.
Thank you, sir. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me for this OBE Info OBE session, and I'm very glad to join this session. As Mr. Al-Kasengli said that he's a person with two hats. So let me tell you that I'm a person with three hats. So I have been an university professional for about 20 years. And then I was involved in the corporate level trainings in industry. In industry, my role was mostly about the project manager and the CTO role I have played in the fintech and banking industry. And then I moved towards this fintech technology and the corporate level trainings. And now finally I am in the academia. So this way I have spent almost 20 years in the industry and 11 years in the corporate levels trainings and the academia itself. So let me share my presentation with you. Okay. Yeah, can everybody see my presentation?
Yeah, it's visible. Please continue.
Okay, thank you. Let me maximize it. Hopefully it is also visible now. So here's my contact details, my LinkedIn profile, and email address as well. So if anybody wants to contact me later on, you can contact me. So today, my topic was effective utilization of technology in smart learning environments. So let me start with a bird's eye view of what are the smart technologies, for example, using Kindle and queuematic systems, for example, reducing the queues. And I will be briefing you about smart books. How can you make your books smart? And tablets for the smart schools. Obviously, everybody is starting to use tablets nowadays. Streaming lectures and streaming videos like on Google Meet and Zoom, like we are just in. So in pandemic also, we utilize these technologies too much. And then for the smart schools, LMS is a must. So I will be discussing Slate and Flex over here. And then the VR, AR, and mixed reality for the education sector as well. So that this is very important to realize that the technology, without technology, involvement of technology and OBE, obviously, we cannot progress now. So in our country, HEC is the institution that formulates education and puts the standards. And there is another government institution called Engineering Council, Pakistan Engineering Council. So OBE is now officially announced by the Pakistan Engineering Council. So our in Fast News Karachi, our electrical engineering and all the engineering disciplines are working under OBE. So I will also be discussing about a little bit about cloud and IoT technologies and software tools as well. What software tools we are using over here in Pakistan. So Amazon Kindle is, we are basically, these are e-readers by Amazon. So everybody now can afford these Kindles. You can browse, buy, and download stuff on the Kindle. And these are, you can read books, newspaper, magazine, etc. There are a lot of books available in the Kindle. So, for example, as compared to the paperbacks book, it is very lightweight. It is very easy to use, so students can easily carry out even tons and tons of books, for example, thousands of books in a single Kindle. So it is very effective and usable technology and affordable as well nowadays. So I'll be letting you know what models and what Kindles we are using over here, so everybody can use it later on. So a Kindle can obviously contain thousands of books. It's lightweight and obviously it's waterproof as well. And there is an option for cloud storage for only for Amazon content. So battery lasts up to 6 weeks. Obviously, if you, for example, use it for half an hour or an hour or so on daily basis, so it will last for the 6 weeks. And the format it is handling is Amazon Kindle formats and text and PDF and various other formats. So it's very useful, and anybody can use. Most of us are using PDF, Adobe PDF format. So it is very easy to use to read electronic books on the Kindle. There is also a Kindle store where you can buy and purchase books from Amazon. There are also free books available on the Kindle. So we are using this Kindle 4G LTE 10th generation. This is 6-inch high resolution, 32 GB waterproof Amazon Kindle. So you can see a picture over here. So it is very lightweight and very thin, and students and teachers can work on it seamlessly. So we have about, in the library, we have about 10 to 15 Kindles, and also for teachers, we have these gadgets available over here in Fast Insets. So there are a few frequently asked questions about the Kindle. So I have documented it over here. So it is about 10. You have to subscribe for its usage, for example, for $10 approximately per month, and subscription of the books can be are renewable, and it is very cheap, as you can see, 169 Pakistani rupees per month. And for other smart devices, you have a Kindle app, for example, iPads and tablets, Android tablets. You can use Kindle app over there, but I would recommend to use Amazon Kindle as it is, because it is optimized to use HCI technology for reading books. So any other device, if you use, is a non-standard device and not optimized for the technology. Another topic is the Qmatic system. So for example, it reduces the walkway of the customers or the students or the faculty members, you can say. So we have a kiosk in our student facilitation center, as you can see over here. Picture is visible for the kiosk, and there is a ticketing system. If you select your task from the menu, it will give you a ticket. It speeds up the process of the customer facilitation for students and teachers. And Qmatic System Facilitation Center is located in our university when you enter it, and students can reach there very easily. And basically, it reduces the queues. For example, there are many students want to query teachers or get advisory from the teachers. So there are a lot of queues that can be reduced from these Qmatic systems. So student only have to take the ticket of that task, and then it will be processed on the counter, and then it will be sent to, for example, academic manager or a teacher or an advisor whatsoever. So, and he would also know that how many students are waiting for him as well. So it is very interesting technology to reduce and manage and optimize the students' queues. Obviously, we experience a lot of load during admission process. So this Qmatic system obviously will help you manage those customer waiting experience, and academic manager will not have to discuss with every student or every parent about every inquiry. So it will reduce the queues. So this is the specific system that we are using, ESTEE system, and features are listed over there. I'm not going to read that, but you can see the pictures over here. So you can see the menu, and there is an app also, so that you can use it. There is an LCD display on which the ticket numbers are visible. There are also panels on which on different counters. For example, these are different counters available. So everybody knows on which counter he needs to go. So it is a very useful system. So coming up, let me discuss more about the smart books as well. How can you make your books smart for the smart schools? So RFID token management system is the solution for that we are using in FAST. And we are using UHF RFID integration with Insignia library system. And we have integrated that with the Insignia library system. So we have a subscription of this Insignia library system as well. So RFID tagging on all the books, obviously it controls theft, and UHF RFID actually operates in a broader frequency range. So it is a very useful technology, and multiple items can be detected. Not only it can be placed on multiple items of the library or the institutions. So it is not specific to books only. So anything you want to make it smart, you can put the tag on that particular item. High reading range, okay, and accurate and quick retrieving. So the information is very reliable and can be fetched very accurately, and it's due to its UHF speed and the frequency band. Maintenance is also easy, and the system response time is very low. Product specification. So this is our UHF RFID reader. So I'm not going to read each and every detail. Obviously, it is written on the screen, and I will share the slide so that if anyone wants to know the hardware details, they can know about it. So in the product, you have to have a reader, UHF RFID reader, so that you can just read the book for the issuance. For example, if the student is going to issue the book, he can the librarian can just put the reader on the book, and then it can be read. And RFID antenna.
Engineer Abdul
Yes.
Rahman, so your time is almost running out. So would you please finish by
Okay.
maximum 1 minute?
Okay, so there are 4 components. So let me summarize it. There are 4 components: RFID reader, RFID antenna, and the RFID handheld, and the RFID tags that are placed on the book. All the specifications are already written. Next, coming up to the Insignia library system. So the URL is on the screen, and it is a complete library management system. It is obviously cross-browser, and it has a power of desktop as well, desktop application as well. So this is a snapshot of our Fast News's library management system. You can see over here, Ask Librarian, chat box, and a complete LMS solution integrated with the RFID system. And we also have the Insignia library system apps for the Google Play Store. Links are over there as well. Coming up to the to the tablets for the smart schools. So you can write, for example, these tablets are needed for example, to solve the mathematical problems, to draw pictures and whatsoever. So it is very useful. I have zoomed in the pen over here so that you can see the buttons over here. So the pen is most likely to be inserted in the hollow space over there in the picture. So pen is not as big as it is on the screen right now. So these are some tablet features. I'm not going to just go through the features. Let me, these are the applications of the tablets. For example, if you want to teach like on the board or draw something, you can draw the mathematical equations or solve it or draw it. And for video streaming, you have webcams and different sort of gadgets. So these are the model numbers that we have in the Fast News's Karachi campus. You can see it, and the prices are over there as well. For streaming lectures, you can use Google Meet and Zoom, and we use both of the technologies right now. So features are listed over there. Coming up to the LMS, we are using Slate. This is open source system. We have adopted it from the Sakai system. You can see there are various options, assignment, and you can post, teachers can post assignment, the students can submit assignments and whatsoever. Completely, you can also insert your syllabus over here, and OBE based outline can be designed over here as well. And this another system we have is a Flex. So this is our custom built system. As you can see that, for example, if you are inserting assignments, there are CLO numbers over there. So you can put the CLO numbers against each assignment. So, and at the end, you can see an OBE tab where you can generate the reports of OBE as well. If anybody wants details for both of the system that we have developed, I can provide the details later on. And VR, AR, and mixed reality. So coming up to this advancement in technology, obviously, as you can see that the student can learn very quickly and very interactively with these technologies. And we have projects for the trainings for the intellectually disabled. We have developed in-house projects for intellectually disabled or blind, etc. So for example, we have a programmer over here in Karachi in the Blind Institute, which was graduate from Fast Research Karachi, but he is blind, but he's able to do programming as well. So we have developed apps for these disabled students as well. So importance of the technologies over there, cloud and IoT, obviously, you need to decide which data you need to put on cloud and which data resides locally. So, and there are also issues like multi-tenancy issues in the cloud server as well. So you have to choose between Microsoft and Amazon services as well. So we have subscriptions of both in our Google Developer Solutions Students Club. We provide subscriptions of cloud services to the students as well. So these are OBE softwares that are being used in over here. QOBE we are using over here. It is being facilitated by Government of Pakistan and HEC. And IOBE is an open source system. So you can adopt that system and customize it as you wish. And thank you so much. If you have any questions, you can ask.
Okay, you're most welcome, Engineer Abdul Rahman. So it's a, informative presentation. So the speakers, do you have any question to Engineer Abdul Rahman? Any question? Okay, perhaps no. So I have some concern. Engineer Abdul Rahman, since you have a long background in software development, you see, we during the pandemic situation, we have used different smart devices, right? But we really faced major challenges while writing on some smart devices. For example, you mentioned the Wacom, right? So yes. The writing is not actually that much easier as we write over the whiteboard, right?
Yes, I can understand. Yes.
Okay, so would you please suggest something from your own experience?
Yes, let me go back to that slide of, for example, we have tried a lot of different devices. And here it is, 100 lines per mm recognitions. So this is the precision of the device that you need. And for example, high precision pen, you need 4,000 levels of pressure sensitivity. If these standards are met, then there will be no lagging in, in between when you write and when you see the result on the screen. So we also face that difficulty. But if you you purchase the tablets with high precisions, For example, the levels of 4,000, above 4,000, even more of above 4,000 is also available in the market. So you can go on and try that as well. So I think this will solve your problem.
Okay. Thank you. And I have another, I mean, mentioned that the Higher Education Commission, Higher Education Commission is provided for OBE, right?
Yes.
So
Higher
all the
education.
universities and education.
Sorry, I can not hear you.
Okay.
Can you repeat again?
So you mean it is a compulsory, it is a compulsory, so it is a mandatory software that should be used by different educational institutions?
It is basically, it is not mandatory software. It is a service provided by the HEC and Engineering Council. Pakistan Engineering Council is now going to put all the engineering institutions under OBE. So today or tomorrow, they have to use this software, because without automation, they cannot do OBE-based learning and development without a good software.
I understand, but in many, instead of developing software for the individual institutions, so in Pakistan the government is giving the software, right?
It is a suggestion from the HEC. They are not imposing it, but they have developed their solution. And we in our FAST, we are also developing our solution. So it is not mandatory to follow their own. They are providing the guidelines, but they are not imposing the software, although they are suggesting to use the QOBE system.
Okay, fine. It's good. So dear speakers, do you have any other issues with Engineer Abdul Rahman? Okay, I think that's all for this session. And it's really very fantastic session. And I mean, a lot of speakers are here. And still Professor Al Kingsley is here. Professor Rehana Anjum is also here. And also Engineer Abdul Rahman. Thank you once again for your excellent and very informative presentation. If the audience have some issues, they will be communicating you over your emails. Please cooperate them. And I would also like to thank Mr. Akib Said, the Tech Associates. So with this, I would like to end this session. Thank you once again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Peace and blessing be upon you all.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.